Good morning. My name is Gabriel Aguado. I was the gaffer, key grip, and equipment manager for Sihi Kim's Brooklyn College Thesis film. Today I would like to discuss two scenes from the film, how they were lit, and why the director, cinematographer, and I chose to light them that way. This film was written to be very much a modern example of the Frankenstein story. A scientist is attempting to manufacture artificial life, and while his vision of his creature manifests itself, his relationship with his wife diminishes. This was a very tight shoot. Over a period of 3 days, we had to execute approximately 110 different camera setups. Due to that, I decided to design lighting setups that would work well for both the master shots and the coverage, with as little movement as possible in between camera setups. The director and cinematographer wanted the overall feel of the scenes to be very cold and sterile, with the color palette being mostly whites, grays, and blues, with an occasional pop of contrasting color for effect. In this particular scene, the scientist is returning home after a long time away at the laboratory, attempting to reconcile his relationship with his wife. We shot this at a real location, and one of the discussions we had was whether or not to use the window that faces into the bedroom as a light source. The decision was made to black out the window, as we had several scenes to do in this location, and we were shooting during the daytime and wanted full control over the light despite the changing position of the sun. Instead of the natural light, I chose to place a 1K in the corner with a full CTB and light diffusion to make it appear as if a beam of moonlight from the window was hitting the wall. This serves dual purpose as it separates the actor from the background and contrasts the darkness of the foreground, exemplifying the character's internal struggle. The color temperature on the camera was set to expose blue light as white and tungsten light as yellow-orange. I added another 1K with a full CTB right in front of the window to separate the bed and actress from the dark blue wall, again mimicking moonlight from the window. We added a practical lamp to the scene to justify placement of the key light. It again serves multiple purposes, highlighting the flowers and the actress's face and also separating the dresser from the background. I also managed to get just enough spill for an exposure on his face, while I could maintain almost complete shadow on the rest of his body. In this way, we could use the light to show his increasing isolation and separation from his wife. This setup was great because it required almost no change when transitioning to her close-ups. The only thing we did differently was move the bed slightly forward and place a 300 watt over her head to highlight her hair. In this second scene, the scientist is working on his creation in the background, while you can see in the foreground his wife Amy trying to reach him on the phone. We were also shooting on a real location here, a college science lab, and again, the scene was lit to allow for several masters and close-ups without requiring much time in between shots. We were not equipped to black out the room's large bay windows, so in this case we chose to work with the natural light. Opposed to the previous scene displayed here, the exposure was set for natural light to be blue and for the tungsten light to be white. We did have several sheets of CTB gel, so I used those on the windows closest to the actors to enhance the blue color of the daylight even further. Next, the decision was made to again use practicals, and because we wanted more control over the light, we used production lights as opposed to the lab's ceiling light. This also adds a layer of anxiety to the scene, as if the scientist's experiments are unauthorized by the laboratory, and therefore he must bring his own lighting. For the practicals, we used Mole Richardson tweenies because they have an industrial look. They were placed around the table the creature is laying on and served to light the scene without any additional lighting needed. I was also in charge of the dry ice. The dry ice was used to give an eerie effect to the laboratory scene, much like you would see in an old movie from the 40s or 50s, which this movie was hearkening back to. The red liquid was meant to be a substance used in the experiment and carried over to the red flowers you saw in the previous scene. The fog can be seen enveloping the phone while his wife is calling, to further tell the story that the experiment was overshadowing his relationship. The key light on the beakers coming from the left was also a 650 or 1K. The blue fill is from the windows, and I had the camera assistant use a flashlight to illuminate the cell phone.
Okay, start calling the phone and you call the action. Action?